Do you want to hear me talk and try to tell you how it is?
Get this fretboard down. What I like to use, you can use a straight piece of wood. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to clamp, you don't want to put any type of bow into this. You don't want to clamp it against something that's bowed, or you want to clamp it against itself. And right now I've got about 15 millimeters on the back side here. That's fairly flat. And I'm going to clamp that to itself. Now what I don't want to do is clamp it to the table unless I've got a perfectly flat surface underneath here. Otherwise you're going to put pressures in it that don't need to be there. Okay, and also what we have here is we've got a notch straight edge. And I'm going to use this as my top clamping piece, which I've done that in the past. Seems to work pretty good. If you've got a straight piece of wood, that works great too. Ideally, you don't want, if you got wood, if you're using wood, you've got to make sure you don't get any glue on it. Otherwise, you glue it to the top of your fretboard with the squeeze out and all that happens. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and just go for this now. We've got our pins. That's ready. We like the location. That's good. All right, let's put some glue on here. Now, the way you want to do this is not like you're going to drown the thing. You want enough on there that you're going to be effective. And ideally, you want to make sure your tip's not so clogged up that it makes it hard to come out, which is what we're kind of running into here a little bit. Because we're going to do the same thing. To the fretboard. Ideally, if you got a little brush that you use for this and then you can wash it out later, that works pretty good. Now, this amount of glue that I'm putting on here right now, I can already tell you, it's probably more than enough. All right. And what I'm using here is just regular wood glue. Used for any old construction stuff. It's kind they use in Norway. Use Type Bond in the US, and I haven't had any problems with this stuff. It's actually pretty good stuff. Casco, indoor, wood glue. Okay, so now we're going to start working this around. We're not trying to put it on the truss rod. It's going to get on there, but that's what the little plastic stuff's for. So ideally, you don't want glue living down in there, but it's going to happen. It's going to get forced down in there, and that's just part of it, and it'll crystallize. And as long as you've got this plasticky thing there on your truss rod, it's not going to bind it up because it's going to function inside of it. I did a repair once on one of my guitars, a Gibson guitar, and I forgot to recoat the truss rod with plastic shrink wrap. And anyway, I had to use an epoxy for that. It was putting on a new actual headstock. And it's locked in there permanent, but I still have to free that up. Now, we're going to have quite a bit of squeeze out. That's fine. That's why we have all this. The rags that are prepared. That's one of the things that you really want to remember to do, is to prepare your rags, because you don't want to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to find things while you're touching stuff and getting certain stuff goopy, and when all you need is a rag handy that you've already prepared for the purpose of this. Okay. Now we want to try to get that as even as we can. Like I say, these pins are going to get pulled right after this gets clamped in place. Because what we don't want is permanent pins sticking inside stuff. Okay, got my rag, got my one finger. That's all I got it on, one finger. There you go. Now my gloves are still clean. I can still keep using these same gloves. All right, here we go. Okay, truss rods in place. Got our pins. Got everything we want it. Now we just got to find our holes here. Whittle that down in there. And that down in there. Okay. All right. So, put a little pressure on this to get it seated down in there a little bit. Okay. Let's go ahead. That ought to work. Pull that there, easy like that. Okay, fine. And start clamping it. We want to try to get the clamp where we can access that pin to get it out. Close enough down on this end. I'm not tightening these up all the way yet. I'm just getting them kind of where I like them. We'll tighten them all the way up once we get everything where we want it. Okay, I don't want that. Down on the end. Alright. Oh, kind of clamped in here. Locked in situation here. Come on, baby. There we go. Get this down a little bit closer to here. We got to do on this end for the pressure. So that's where center. Let's go ahead. Now we're getting a little squirrely here, stabilization wise, and that's why when you plan this out, if I had planned this better, did a rehearsal, I didn't really rehearse this time much, I would have known that, you know, the easier you make it for yourself, the better the results are going to be. We've got 4 clamps, so that's what we're using. You might have more, you can use more. There's no rules, only guidelines. And this type of glue is a water-soluble glue. And that's what's recommended for fretboards, because sometimes fretboards have to come off. And quite often, actually, they have to come off when you're doing repairs. So this glue, if needed, can be steamed, heated and steamed, and the fretboard will come off with elbow grease and whatnot. So now I think I've done everything okay here. Knock on wood. Got an even amount of. And you can see kind of what this does. Ideally, maybe I would want something different than this. Maybe a little bit thicker material, but this works. It's what I have hanging around handy right now. So, and I've used it in the past, so that's fine. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start clamp. Now we're going to put some pressure on it. We're going to do that evenly as we go, and you see, watch all the glue start to squirt out as we do this. Let's take a peek down here. Okay, those look pretty good. They're all set pretty flat against the back side of the neck. Now, if you really got good hand strength, be careful, because the point is not to break your tool or your neck or your life or your what you're working on, especially your hands. You'll find when you get to be 50 or so, things kind of get worn out and need to have a little bit more TLC. So, got them as tight as we can get them without hurting anything, ourselves or the product. All right, so now got all this squeeze out here, and we're gonna start cleaning it up. Our rag's dried out already. Get them a little bit more damp. Against that one. Okay. So what we got now is some damp paper towels here that kind of dried out. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Serve its purpose for now. And Now you don't want to worry too much about this because this is going to dry. When it dries, it'll dry clear. As long as you don't have huge gaping chasms of it left, and like I just did right there. Ideally, you don't want to get it on the fretboard. So, if you do, just hurry up and take it off. It's going to get radiused and sanded anyways. Wipe a little bit. Wipe a little bit. Okay. That one's done. Switch over to a rag here. Got a little bit of moisture. Okay, now this is an important thing right here. Instead of, if you don't take this out really well, it squeezes out up here where the nut is, you'll be cutting it out with a knife, and then you might gouge something, or so it's ideal. Get in there, get that out of there while you can. Now, the next step after this is we'll remove the clamps tomorrow morning, and we'll look down the fretboard to see how we went, how it turned out. And then the next step is radiusing, and we might make a video for that. This is going to definitely be a long one, but I'm just taking away the excess glue on this side. And a lot of times I'll use the same rags for gluing if I can, because it's water soluble. You can rinse them out if you want to. Ideally, you don't want glue in your pipes, but I'll probably just toss this rag because I've got plenty, and I think it was already a used rag to begin with, so. Okay. Now, there we go. We got a little out of it. Don't want to do that. Clean spot. Keep wiping here. Alright. Okay. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and sight down the neck one more time. Make sure we haven't done anything weird to it. Alright. That's looking really good. No twists, no warps. Everything on track. Okay, now we'll let this sit overnight and take it off in the morning. We'll start the race. All right, take care.
You want to hear me talk and try to tell you how it is?